Hello everyone, I'm Ren Shindo. I'm a Shihou-Shoshi lawyer. I'm going to explain what that is in a moment. My office is in Daisen City. That city is famous for its firework display. We call it Omangari no Hanabi. Have you ever seen it? If there is a person who have never been to, I recommend you go see it. However, you will have to endure heavy traffic and crowds. People who have been there will know what I mean. By the way, where would you go if you were embroiled in a legal dispute in Japan? Did you know that a Shihou-Shoshi lawyer may be one of your choices? So, the purpose of my presentation today is to talk about the work of a Shihou-Shoshi lawyer. I plan to speak for about half an hour. Now, let's begin. A Shihou-Shoshi lawyer is like an attorney in the US and a solicitor in the UK. A solicitor may need more explanation. In the UK, there are two kinds of lawyers, solicitors and barristers. A solicitor is a lawyer who gives legal advice and prepares legal documents. They can't stand at the bar. A barrister can stand at the bar and plead for their client only when they are entrusted by a solicitor. It is, so to speak, a professional difference between talking and making documents. Incidentally, in the US, there is no difference in lawyers like the UK. An attorney in the US can do any legal work. They can do both solicitor work and barrister work. A Shihou-Shoshi lawyer is a little bit different from an attorney and a solicitor. We Shihou-Shoshi lawyers can do more legal work than them, except for in criminal cases. A Shihou-Shoshi lawyer can't deal with criminal cases. By the way, some of my peers call themselves judicial criminals. I think it's not correct. The reason is as I've stated, so we can do more legal work than criminals. I'll give you some concrete examples. When you are embroiled in a dispute, there are various ways to resolve the conflict. For example, mediation, litigation, arbitration, and out-of-court settlement. We Shihou-Shoshi lawyers can help those who select one of the aforementioned ways. However, we have restrictions concerning the amount being disputed. If the amount being disputed is not greater than 1.4 million yen, we can act as your lawyer in civil litigation and civil arbitration cases. I can also negotiate as your lawyer with another party out of court. It is like an attorney in the US. However, if the amount being disputed is not greater than 1.4 million yen, I can't act as your lawyer. I can only make the documents submitted to court. It's like solicitor in the UK. So, I'll explain about mediation comparing with litigation. Mediation is a recent system, so there are few people who know about it. It is necessary to compare with litigation in order to explain its system. First, I will speak about the location. Litigation is held in court. Mediation is not held in court but at a private organization. For example, Akita-ken Shihou-Shoshi Association, which is a private organization, is able to mediate. Next, I'll talk about the effect. Litigation is legally binding, so any final judgment has the possibility of being compulsorily enforced. On the other hand, mediation isn't legally binding, therefore your effort to resolve conflicts could be a waste of time. So, who is the judge? In the case of litigation, you can insist on your opinion regarding the conflict only to have the judge resolve the matter in a way you disagree with. But in mediation, you can resolve conflicts yourselves. A mediator won't decide anything without regard for your opinion. You are the master of the procedures. Lastly, I'll speak about some other points. The process of litigation is based in rigid discipline and takes a long time to be resolved in many cases. You may be nervous in court and be tired of the long process. Whereas The process of mediation is informal, and sometimes the two parties can make a friendly relationship. I think that it is a good system not to have a grudge against each other. People will feel better after they can open their hearts. In many cases of litigation, the feeling of antagonism is left because it isn't a system that people can open their heart. Speaking of which, did you see the TV drama named Hands of Anarchy? In drama, there was famous phrase. In Japanese, 倍返し. If I express it in English, perhaps it may be take double the paper. So, in many cases of litigation, the feeling of antagonism, feeling of the take double the payback is left. Now, I will explain about arbitration. Comparing with litigation and mediation, arbitration looks like litigation in terms of location and effect. It is held in court and legal binding. However, in arbitration, conflicts are resolved by an arbitrator who is elected by the parties and is more flexible than a judge. On that point, it's like mediation. It's a cross between mediation and litigation. I will now continue by explaining an example of Shihou-Shoshi lawyer's work. In Japan, a person who bought real estate general registers at the Legal Affairs Bureau. The reason for this is that if all you do is sign a contract, you still won't be able to claim right of ownership against a third party. We Shihou-Shoshi lawyers can confirm the documents needed for registration and submit the application at the Legal Affairs Bureau as your agent. Since these procedures are difficult, it's quite common for Shihou-Shoshi lawyers to undertake them as an agent. Furthermore, even before the registration procedures, Shihou-Shoshi lawyers fulfill an important role regarding the contract. We call this tachiai. So, I'll explain tachiai. As I mentioned before, when people purchase or sell real estate, they need to register at the Legal Affairs Bureau as I can act as the agent for registration. They mostly make a contract and a payment at the sweet room in the bank. A vendor pays the price and the vendor gives millions, or the real estate deed, and the certificate of serial impression that is absolutely necessary for registration. However, there is a problem regarding this. Let's imagine that a vendor said that they can pay until the registration has finished. On the other hand, a vendor said that they can't give the deed and the certificate of serial impression before they receive payment. I think it's natural thinking for both. This is the moment that the real estate transaction strikes a reef. Then I, as Shihou-Shoshi lawyer, can resolve this matter. I confirm the effectiveness of the contract and check every document which is absolutely necessary for registration. And I say, you can transact, even though the registration has not finished. I must have it finished responsibly. Then the vendor pays the price and the vendor gives the deed and the certificate of serial impression believing me. This is the reason why a Shihou-Shoshi lawyer is necessary for real estate transactions. This work of a Shihou-Shoshi lawyer is called tachiai. By the way, have you ever seen a certificate of serial impression? A certificate of serial impression, also known as an information, is a unique system which is already used in Japan and South Korea. Perhaps your country has a culture of signatures and some of you have never seen a seal, so perhaps it is difficult to understand its system and culture. In Japan, people who go to work after graduate school usually make a special seal. We call it a jitsuin. and they register its impression at the city hall. After that, the city hall issued the document, which certifies the seal impression on demand. We Japanese affix our registered seal impression on important documents, and the certificate of seal impression is often required. Documents to which a design is affixed are considered signed by those who are related to the affair, and that there is intention to conform to the contents of the documents. I think that this is a very useful system for social contracts because it is an incentive to fulfill a contract. Without this system, we can't prevent the appearance of defaulters who may insist, "I can't remember the signing of the contract." In Japan, foreigners can also register their seal impressions at the city hall and get a certificate of seal impression if they live in Japan and will make various transactions from now on. It is useful for them to make a design. How about making a seal and registering its impression at the city hall? Furthermore, I will explain the example of Shihou-Shoshi lawyer's work. In Japan, new companies are established by registering with the Legal Affairs Bureau. A Shihou-Shoshi lawyer can prepare the documents needed for registration and submit the application to the Legal Affairs Bureau as your agent. Currently, it is legally possible to establish a company with just one yen as capital. However, the amount of capital that your company has is an important factor for attracting business partners. This is because the amount of capital is an important way to gauge the scale and financial strength of the company. Therefore, even if your company is called a corporation, your company can't gain the trust of other companies and banks with just one yen as capital. Other companies will refuse to do transactions with you, and banks will not finance your business. So I don't recommend running a company with an extremely low amount of capital. So the work of Shihou-Shoshi lawyer is as described. Would any of our services be useful for you? However, Shihou-Shoshi lawyers can each have their own special and non-special fields. Therefore, not everyone can complete the work that I've just explained to you. Also, I doubt that there are any Shihou-Shoshi lawyers within Akita Prefecture that can use English perfectly. Therefore, if the matter that you are requesting the Shihou-Shoshi lawyer help you with is too complex, you may require interpreting services. I'm currently doing my best to study English. However, even so, I don't see that my ability is high enough to understand the complex verbal discussion. Therefore, if you have anything that you'd like to discuss, you may have to send it to me in writing. I will be fine if I can see it in writing. In addition, my office's main work is real estate and business registration. If you have any requests regarding this field, please ask me for consultation. During consultation, I would appreciate it if you could speak English slowly for me and, if possible, with easy to understand sentences. Consultation fees depend on the circumstances, but range from 5,000 yen to 10,000 yen for 30 minutes. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. I also would like to study English further and hope that I can be of use to foreign residents in Japan.